good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another Workbench Wednesday. I hope you all can hear me. I've had to move some things around. The phones and the microphones just didn't seem to work this week the way they used to. Megan, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Then hopefully we're coming through loud and clear out there for everybody else. This is the exciting part 3 conclusion of Megan and I's attempt at working on one of our new Lionel HO kits. We each took the ice cream stand Lionel kit and have come up with something new and unique for it. Now, I've been using literally just about every part of this kit for things, including the box. But just so everybody's sort of familiar, it's not going to zoom in because I'm blurred. But here's the kit that we're working with. Let's try this camera. Let's try it upside down. There we go. This is the kit that we started with about 3 weeks or so ago, and we both decided we were not going to build it as an ice cream stand because that's the fun part of these kits. You can do whatever you'd like, and we weren't going to tell each other what we were building. Now, I have a pretty good guess at what Megan's been up to. So, Megan, I'm going to let you start us off and talk a little bit about what you've been up to and your project and show us where you are. Want me to add in your other camera there?
Yeah, go ahead.
There we go.
So I have created a surf shack. Ryan's been my teacher and helper through this whole process, and I finally had to give in and ask him a question related to how to make a surfboard. So I kind of gave it away, but it's coming along really well. I'm excited to show everyone what I've been working on and adding all the finishing touches to it today.
Awesome. Yeah, so I've had a good guess at that. Holy mackerel, look at that palm tree. That is really cool.
My son plays with lots of dinosaurs and plastic toys, and we have this in the house, so it was fitting to add this.
That is looking really, really good.
Thank you.
Let's talk. We'll talk a little bit about what you've been doing to it. I guess one of the things I see that I really like about this, and before I show mine off, I've been thinking about this over the last couple of hours working on it and knowing where yours was from what I've seen over the last couple of weeks and how mine's coming along. And we both approach this from a very different mindset, which is very cool because it shows the flexibility of not just the Lionel kits, but really any kit and how people can approach this hobby. And when I look at your structure is truly the eye-catching centerpiece of the scene. You've built something that is going to draw people in and make it a focal point. I mean, I see you don't have the roof on it yet, but there's color, there's vibrance, and it makes you want to look at that and figure out what's going on. Mm-hmm. Whereas I took a completely different approach, and because it was more of a small structure, I kind of made it to where it's going to sort of blend into the background in a bigger scene. And it's the details around it that will help tell the story. But the structure itself doesn't really pop or grab you. It won't leave. No one's going to look at this on the layout eventually and go, I remember that building. Yours they will remember because it's different and it's distinctive and it's very well done. But it's something you don't normally see. And also, since seeing you paint this brightly colored building, I have been much more acutely aware as I travel and look at buildings and architecture and get modeling ideas of how many great bright buildings there are out there in the world. And in our efforts to sometimes make everything sort of more muted and dull on a model railroad and think weathering, it's good to have a few pieces like yours that really do jump out and make you take notice. So very, very cool.
Thank you.
Where you've been going with that.
I don't know how many modelers model near the ocean, but I figured I'd give it a shot regardless. So.
Well, a lot of people do. There's a lot of beach scenes out there, especially along the California coast where you've got the old Southern Pacific coastline right there. It's a beautiful stretch of railroad and would be an amazing thing to model. And this would be right at home on something like that. So definitely this is something that could find a home on a lot of model railroads. All right, I'm going to, just so you can see it better, instead of just focusing on giant mess that is my workbench. Let me come down here and zoom in on mine. As I said, I went with a very different sort of theme, and I used a lot of parts from the scrap box on this, and I still have a lot of detailing to go, but I went with a used car lot. That you can sort of see here. We'll zoom in on the sign. The sign came off of another kit that I had. You see the original Lionel building here. And then in the back, put on a little bit of an addition to give it some place to fix up these clunkers and make them just good enough to get off the lot, was sort of the idea behind the garage on this. So the building itself is pretty well there. I've got a little more weathering to do and a few more details that I want to pop on here yet. But I've been spending the last little bit this evening working on some of the details around the lot to try and finish off this scene. And maybe we'll do some of that tonight. I'd like to say that I tried to save some things, for tonight's broadcast to work on, but really I just kind of ran out of time, as is so often the case. But it's coming together, and it's definitely a little bit different than the original building.
Very much.
So with the two ideas sort of revealed, let's talk a little bit more about yours, Megan. Let's go back to yours and zoom in on, see if I can make yours a little bit bigger so people can zoom in. And I'd like you to talk a little bit about some of the things that you did to make it unique and how you've customized your model. And then what's on your agenda for tonight.
Okay. Well, as you can see here, I did a kind of, when we started off, I did a like sandy type look with some concrete like rocks. So I'm getting a little bit of feedback there.
You're doing okay.
Then did the masking on the building. Added 3 or 4 different colors of paint here, and a little bench with a guy out of figures that we already had on hand. Let's see here. I also added, and this is something that I'm probably not going to get to tonight, but even as we finish this series, I believe I will continue to work on this. I added some scenes that I had found online of some existing type surf shacks or rental places, and added some details along the inside so that when the building's lighted, you'll be able to see those details. Let's see if I can get that there. I had also cut up pieces from another kit, created a little counter area in the front, and then also pulled a door from another kit that we had in stock, and added some, see if I can get that focused, added some like surf logos, different brands and stuff to kind of cover the window, different types of signage from surf shops and rental shops. And there's that one. And again, I'm going to add an interior with some lights. But this evening, what I'm going to be focusing on is finishing off the roof area with some signage, and also adding some surfboards that I'm going to carve out of some foam that you found me.
Awesome. So to remind everybody, if you haven't been with us for the first 2 weeks, this is your first kit building experience, right? You haven't really done this before.
Yeah.
So
I have added pieces onto an O-scale kit that was already built up. But as far as doing any type of HM modeling or any kit modeling, this is my first time. Yes.
So you're obviously awesome at this, but I want everyone to sort of let that soak in, because if you're just coming at this from the first time, you can produce something really amazing and really well detailed and really creative and really truly unique without having a huge workbench full of tools, without having a ton of lots of years of experience, without a lot of extra know-how or or spending a lot of extra money on add-ons. You've been using things that you found online or found in the house, and
Yep.
have created something that looks a world different than the kit that comes as it appears on the cover of the box.
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot. And as I continue to build and grow with this, I've taken a lot of things that I've watched you do, or just trial and error on things that didn't work with my model, and things that definitely did work that I'd like to try again, but better. Um, but yeah, for the first time, just doing, again, picking a small kit to start with so I wouldn't get any like overwhelmed or anything like that. It was a great kit to start with, really easy, not a lot of pieces. And I really had to have fun with it. And again, I tried to find a kit that had like a lot of surface area for me to detail, because I knew I wanted to paint and do signage because that's fun for me. So that's why this kit was chosen, because I again wanted to make sure that I had a chance to do the things that I like to do on it.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the signs you made for the roof, because I think you said you're gonna do that some more tonight, and I'd like to see where you're going with that, because you've got some really cool things good looking things there. While you talk about that, I'm going to try and rearrange my phone so you can actually see me, since that's the one that seems to want to work for our microphone tonight. So bear with me, folks, as I do that, and hopefully that side of your screen doesn't look too dizzy, get you too dizzy.
So one of the things that I already had on hand at home is a Cricut machine, which is a vinyl cutting machine, or a cardstock cutting machine that a lot of crafters use. Comes with a program that you can easily type in words and it'll cut and plot it for you. Again, this was something I already had on hand because I do like to make like t-shirts and cups and mugs and all those types of things. So I measured the signs here and then plotted it out on my Cricut machine and cut it out of vinyl. I will say HO scale was very difficult to weed. I had to learn how to do a technique called reverse weeding, where I applied all of the vinyl to a transfer tape, and then instead of pulling the transfer tape off of the backing, I pulled it off of the actual transfer tape so that only the things that I had cut was left on the tape. So that was a new process for me. The first iteration that I did of the sign here, I cut out like a wave detail. I assumed that, you're on the beach, you want to see big bright red letters to drive people in to come learn how to surf. So I wanted to do that. I did find though that the blue kind of ate some of the detail in the red, just because of how small it was. So for the other side of the sign, I did reverse that and went with the waves. So the waves here, and I'll add the lettering on. Ryan, did you want me to show how I'm doing that now?
Yeah, do you have the Cricut set up there to run through it?
Yeah, well, I've already printed everything, and as you can see here, I've got my lettering already ready to go on a piece of transfer tape. What's cool about this transfer tape is it's actually not like store brand transfer tape. It is contact paper that you would use to like add in your cabinets to keep things from sliding. They have decorative ones, but they also have clear ones. So I use that for mine because it's relatively low cost. And I'm just going to apply it to the sign here. And I'm never particular. I don't like measuring things very well. So I'm just going to eye it and see where the center, where it looks good. And then I have just a squeegee tool here that I will use to put down the lettering and then pull off the transfer tape. Didn't do that great on centering it, but that's okay. It's not perfect. Sometimes you really gotta push down on the transfer tape to get it to stick. There we go. Get the lessons there.
Very cool.
And then I will do the same with the rental side of the signage here, the smaller one, and again, just applying it with the squeegee.
So for the nice little sign that I have on top of my kit, that came out of another different Craftsman kit that I had that I changed into something other than a used car dealer. But those were laser cut out of a cardstock. And this is great because it shows you guys you don't need to have an expensive laser cutter to make three-dimensional signs or to make unique lettering. This looks so much better than something you would have just printed out on your computer. Even with a good printer, you have more depth to this now and dimension. So really a great way to get some novel signs. Of course, you've got a billion font options and everything else. So a great machine. You inspired me too. I enlisted the help of my wife, Karen,
Nice.
because I have no Cricut abilities, and I wasn't going to break it or I'd be in the doghouse. And she has helped me to cut out something a little bit smaller. As you mentioned, HO is not easy.
No, it was
a
not
used
easy.
car lot. Yeah, my used car lot's going to need those streamers and banners. So Karen cut me a whole bunch of little tiny triangles. And if we get to it tonight, I'm going to be gluing all these little buggers onto some nylon string and stringing it from the corner of the building out to the signs and the lamp posts and so forth. So we may not get that far tonight, and it's probably for the better because I imagine I will have some choice language after gluing 150 little tiny triangles onto nylon string. But that's the plan anyway, to try and make that work. So it's cool to see someone who thinks outside the normal, the realm of what, where we go to a model train shop, looking at some of the other tools that you have and other things you have that you use regularly, that can be adapted to this type of a hobby use.
Yeah, it was good too. I didn't want to make a huge investment in this, especially being my first time. I did look around online and looked at some of the things that we had, as far as like figures were concerned and other little pieces. And again, I really just wanted to start small and work my way up. But yeah, to have little to no extra cost for me was very important when I was putting this together. But now that I've seen other things that are out there and that are possible with this, there's a very good chance that I'll invest in some more um, tools and things to continue on with these.
Well, that's great. So as a first timer, because I'm sure we have some watching here as well tonight, what have you found as your biggest challenge in building the kit so far?
My nails. um, that would be the number one biggest challenge for me, just because again you are dealing with little parts and pieces, and I've had to again pull you know pliers and things to hold on to little things. I've had a lot of things stick to my hands, and I'm not hugely a huge fan of having sticky glue all over and paint all over myself, but I guess that just comes with the territory. But I think that was the biggest issue that I ran into was just the fact that I was working with something that was so small. I had to really get used to, um, picking up the little things and gluing and all that. Um, and I'm still working at it and still learning different ways and trying to brace things and glue things so I'm not making a huge mess. But other than that, everything else has been pretty fun. Again, it's just frustrating to get your fingers to work right sometimes.
I certainly know that feeling. I think everybody who's done modeling for any length of time has been there too. That sometimes your fingers just won't do what your mind is telling them they should.
So I am currently affixing the sign to the like roof awning here, and it's a little complicated for me for my fingers, but I'll get it. I got the other two, so that's what I am currently working on. Tell me about the used car lot sign on the top of yours, the lettering. You said that was just cardstock?
It's a cardstock or a very thin veneer of wood. Get it up here on the camera
That's
a
so
little bit.
cool.
Zoom in on focus. There we go. Probably about the same thickness as the vinyl you're using. If I turn that sideways, you can probably make it out a little bit there.
Oh, okay.
Very, very thin. But this was off of a different kit. It was designed to be in one long row across things, and I chopped it and lifted it because I wanted a little bit more height on this structure to give it a little bit of presence. Painted it while it was still on the runners with a red paint, and then dabbed on some light gray and a little bit of rust here and there to just give it a little bit more of an aged look. Same with the frame. Again, made some modifications to fit the new size. Glued it all together, and it goes together nicely with just some white glue or yellow glue, and then put her on the roof. The only tricky part was trying to get it level because it's going on a roof that's not quite level and sitting at a bit of an angle. So just did one leg at a time and got it on there. But it adds a nice little touch of detail, and it's not too big and heavy that it doesn't overpower the small structure.
Yeah,
So
I think this the showstopper on there, and you've got quite a few amazing details on there, like on the side of the building with the shelving and all that. But having that sign up there like that really makes it look super authentic.
Yeah. So the main sign for the building came from that same other kit. The other signs, however, and the interior details, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, for those who may want to go back and look at that, those all came off of the internet, just Googling car lot signs. And I've got a whole bunch of different, no money down type of things. We've got a few more here that we're going to have to put together yet, but printed out a few sheets of these. You can see that you get plenty of them right off the internet. Really easy to find these things, both for the building and eventually we'll put some on the cars too. Also for the front of the building or for the front of the lot, I'll probably start working on next tonight are the telephone poles and the sign poles. And we've got a few hanging banners. I get used to working backwards here. That we can cut out and mount on the side of flag poles. Open flag for the front door, etc. Lots of little things that were easy to get and print out and add on to the building. So it'll be a fun addition, and all the little details around this should help really bring it out and make it pop. For the addition in the back, I'll talk a little bit about that while you work. This was also very easy to make and didn't really cost a dime. The frame for the walls is just a piece of a cardboard box. I don't think I used the box that this kit came in for that. The cardboard was actually too thick and nice. I found a piece of a rolling stock box or cereal box, something like that. Traced out 3 sides, used some spare strip wood in the corners to help give it some strength, and then folded the walls around and lined it with scrap of scale strip wood. Stained the colors a little bit different just to give it some character. And then we good comment, got me on that one, Dave. Yeah, there will be a lot of triangles glued to my fingers later for sure. But then added some details to it. So this was just made from pieces around the scrapyard. Like you, I robbed from an earlier Lionel kit build. In fact, the last one we did on this program, I think. I built a little Cape Cod house. You can probably find that on the YouTube channel. Took an extra window, and we cut out the garage door on that so we could detail the interior and have the little garage band playing in their parents' garage. So I saved the garage door, and now here it is on this. The roof was the same as the new roof made for the kit itself. I wanted something a little bit more simple and flat. So another piece of cardboard and some overlay with tar paper, which is nothing more than black construction paper sprayed with a little bit of gray paint, and then teased a little bit to get some weathering on it, and then glued in place. So a real cheap and easy roofing material. The last show we talked about adding the roof vents and things like that. I felt the shed needed a little something, so figure one of those days the young employee was told to, get rid of those old tires, and he just found a quick and easy way to hoist them out of the boss's view, and up they went. So just a little something up there on the roof to give it some detail and character. The other castings that I've added to this, mostly on this side here, I've got a few. I've added the electric meter. We'll put some conduit on that in a little bit, and then this detailed casting here with all the great junk and stuff on the shelves as a resin casting that I had painted previously, and it was already done and looked good. So I took a shortcut and put that on here. But
it looks awesome.
And that is from rustyrail.com. If anyone's looking for some great, highly detailed resin castings, they do them in multiple scales, and they're really wonderful stuff. So rustyrail.com for all your shelves and workbenches and old rusty automobiles and junk piles. They've got all sorts of great stuff.
Very cool.
And again, just some other signs and things like that added. The door here, like I took that from another one of our Lionel house kits just to change it up a little bit. Took the shutters off of the kit windows to make them a little bit more industrial. But everything else is with the kit. The pavement is nothing more than a little piece of foam, the same foam you're going to be using here in a little bit for your surfboards.
Yeah.
And that's just painted with some black and then sponged on with some light gray to get the pavement, a different gray for the sidewalk out front, and very, very much along this line. So I've got to start painting some telephone poles, and I've got some picket fence for the back of the lot that needs to get done too, to give me an area in the back that's just some dirt and weeds and more trash that they've thrown away from the cars they've repaired to sell.
Very cool. Try to get some extra light in here. So yeah, I am going to be working on my surfboards here. And again, Ryan was able to find me some foam here. It's just some really thin foam board that worked perfectly for what's the word I'm looking for? The surfboards here. And what I did is I went online and Googled how tall is a surfboard so that I could really scale it down. Found a HO calendar or a calculator on there to figure out what the appropriate height of the surfboard is. And you can see I just kind of printed out some ones that I liked. And then I've been using those as a guide to carve these with just a sharp X-Acto knife. And a lot of trial and error on these. I've painted them white. I have a couple shorter ones to kind of look like boogie boards, and I'm just going to decorate them and paint them. And then a few will be added to the interior if I get to that. And then just a few kind of hanging out outside next to the customer here.
Very cool. I've got one question on here that's definitely for you, Megan, because I'm not sure where these came from other than the box that lands on the front porch. Where can you get the Cricut at? Is that available at craft stores, or is that something you need to order online?
Craft stores, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, all those types of places, Amazon, they've all got them. There's a similar brand called a Silhouette that does the same exact thing. What's nice about both of the Cricut or the Silhouette is that they come with the software needed. So it really is a plug in and then get going. There's a corded, or it will work via Bluetooth. And again, comes with a multitude of already available clip art that you can use and fonts. And yeah, I'm not quite sure how much they run these days. I've had mine for a couple years, but again, super easy to find.
Are we talking a couple $100, couple, $50, $60?
I would say a couple $100. But again, for me, I do crafts. I make T-shirts. I make mugs. I make all kinds of different things, stickers. So it was my pandemic hobby. I got that, I think, right before we went into lockdown a couple years ago, and really learned how to use it within these last couple years.
That's awesome. I know you can also make stencils with it as well, which is something that for a modeler, in any scale could be very useful. cut out the stencil and then use that on your model to paint the sign on the building or the car if you wanted to do that without having to do a whole lot of crazy masking and so forth.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different materials that it'll cut, and different blades that you can put in there for all the different types of materials that you're cutting. So it's not a one-trick pony, that's for sure.
So there you go, guys. You got a new tool you got to add to your workbench here in model railroading. And I know I'm going to start looking for more ways to raid my wife's supply closet.
She will love that.
Yeah, I'm blaming you.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, while I'm working here, what I'll do is I'll just turn my camera down a little bit, hopefully here. Maybe we can make this work. You can see what I'm up to here. Right now we're working on, where are you? There you are. A little picket fence for the back. And this is starting out with a kit, a laser cut kit from Bar Mills. They call this easy fencing or something to that effect. Really great simple kit. It doesn't cost a whole lot. I think it's a couple of dollars for a few strips of this fencing and the assorted strip wood that comes with it. Might lay a couple of 2x4s here along the back, and then we'll make some posts and have a fence for the back. I'll also add some signs to this to give it a little bit nicer of a look.
That's really cool, Ryan.
So I'm staying in camera here tonight. Find my new blade.
I just took some of my scrap vinyl from the signage and used that on the surfboard here to add a little decoration. Working and carving foam is something I don't think I've ever done before either, so that was pretty fun. Use a really sharp blade. I learned that lesson earlier today.
Yes, the trick to cutting any sort of styrofoam or foam core is a fresh, sharp hobby knife blade. It makes all the difference in the world between cutting it and tearing it. I've learned that lesson the hard way too. I think all of us have at some point. As I've said several times on here, every time I start a new project, whether I think I need it or not, a new blade goes in the knife. I used to, when I started out, I would go once without changing a blade. Of course, I was, 6, and those things were a lot of money, so you made it last as long as you could back then. But now that you can get a box of 100 blades for a couple bucks on Amazon, it's nice to just change them frequently. And I find not only do I get a lot better work out of it, I also get a lot more enjoyable work out of it too. I'm not fighting it as much. For those of you watching here, I am adding some glue here to the back. These are already marked where the boards need to go. So I'm just using a toothpick and some carpenter's glue to put a little bead exactly where I want it, so I don't get any more glue on this than I need. I'll probably come back through and add some more stains and vary the colors a little bit more once that's done. But if I don't goop it all up at first, everything will work better when it's all over. And then we can cut it off of this tree, and it'll be just about ready for the layout.
Now, Ryan, you extended the base on that quite a bit. How do you easily integrate that into a layout?
Well, hopefully it'll all just nest on very, very simply. I didn't use the plastic base of the kit itself at all, other than to use it as a square or as a jig when building the walls. That allowed me to keep everything nice and square. But then that went into the scrap bin for use as Most likely I'll end up using that for backing material or something like that when you build things. Sometimes you just need a splice in the back. So I rarely, if ever, throw anything like that away. But the base on the model started off as a piece of thin foam, the same foam that you're using on your surfboards, actually. And then just to give it a little bit more, I simply glued that on part of a FedEx envelope. And eventually this will just be glued down onto a platform. I'm not entirely sure that I'll keep this base. The details on it can all be pulled back off later. They're all on with a water-soluble glue, so it'll be fairly easy to remove that. One of the neat things about a little business like this used car lot is it can be in any shape you want. So if you've got an odd-shaped corner on your railroad, or you're tucking something in around a curve or something like that, this is a great industry to use because you can bend it and adapt it to the scene very well. So I purposefully didn't spend too much time on that, but you never know. It may stay just as it is. But once this is glued down on a final layout and you blend it in with additional buildings and dirt and scene, it'll tie right in and be right at home.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I would have liked to, and I mean, I clearly still can, but I think I'd like to add some actual sand and dirt to the sand effect paint that I did on there, especially over by the palm tree. I used a glue gun to stick the palm tree on there, and I'd like to hide some of that excess glue with some sand.
Mm-hmm. Very easy to do. A little bit of play sand and you're all set. But the sand paint that you used actually is very convincing.
Thank you.
I actually thought that, at least from what I could see on the computer monitor here, that you had actually put some sand in there and already done that. So now I'm just cutting off the runner that the fence is attached to. Makes it much easier to build.
For all the viewers at home, we'll be sure to get some good pictures of these and post them on our social media for everyone to take a closer look at all the details. I don't think that the video cameras on our phones and computers do them justice, especially Ryan's, which is so incredibly detailed.
Well, you're selling yourself short there too, but I agree. It's hard on these cameras when you're trying to focus on big things like full scale people to then zoom in on the small details. But at the same idea, for those who've been building some kits, or if you've got whether it's the same Lionel kit or some other things at home that you've been working on, if this has helped inspire you to do something new and unique, please share with us too. Use our Facebook page and show us what you've been up to. We'd love to see that. It definitely inspires for sure. Every time we see what somebody else is doing, we all benefit from that. As I started off with, I took a different look at some of these kits and some of the things I was considering after seeing what Meghan was working on, and probably the same for her looking at mine. So it's nice to have exposure to other modelers, no matter what your experience level, because it keeps us all learning.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see what other people have been working on.
Okay. All right, so the back of the fence is just about done. I'm going to put a little bit of stain on this and just give it a little bit more variety. Put some posts and then maybe do some signage on the front.
And I just cut another surfboard out of the foam here. I'm going to paint it, and my goal is to have a couple dozen in the interior so that when you look in there when it's lighted, you'll get to see their stock of surfboards available for rent.
You know, we don't have any surf figures, Megan, but we did make some HO winter people with some skiers. I'm sure you could adapt them and add some water skis to your
I could.
shop as well.
We had some outdoor roller skating people that I found. So if I were to make this up, I would certainly do, as Donald Klaus said, it would look great done on a boardwalk. There's also roller skate rentals on boardwalks too. So I would love to add to that.
So for stains, for those watching here, you notice I'm not hitting every board, and I'm using a couple different colors. These are an alcohol stain made by Best Trains. Just Google BEST Trains, called Vetero Stains. Met these folks at Springfield. Nice family-run business, and these stains are really great. So I'm just going to dab a few on here and there, and just create a little bit of variety in the back of the fence. The front of the fence already has it. Of course, I just stuck it right in the glue. Derp. Time for a new palette. Add some more variety to the front too. Why not?
Well, while we're working here, I will say we do have about a dozen kits, HO kits available in that just came in here about a month ago, including this ice cream shop kit, hot dog shop, the burning house, a fire department, all kinds of different things, a truck stop. So check those out with your dealers or lionelstore.com. All kinds of different goodies there.
Okay. Next thing I'm going to do seems like the type of business that would have some old vintage signs around it. So we're going to cut out a few signs and weather them up a little bit. This is a sheet that came again off of just another kit, but you could just as easily print something like this out off of the internet. Just go around and find old signs, or take some pictures of your own while you're out and about. And I've already on some of these given a little bit of a dab with some rust, which is nothing more than a little bit of just brown oxide colored paints and a sponge dabbed on around the edges and where have you, to give it a little bit of a speckled rusty look. And then the next step will be simply to cut out a few of these signs, and we'll rust them a little bit more and then glue them on the fence. You can rust them as much or as little as you like. Got one here I think will work pretty well. Find the knife. again, a fresh blade with something like this really helps. You wouldn't think you'd need it to just cut some paper, but the softer the material, the sharper the blade needs to be to get good clean cuts. That one. Let's do this. Champion spark plugs here.
Also, Ryan, another thing I learned was that not all glues work for all materials. There's all kinds of different glues. Some things don't work really well when trying to put it to foam.
Yes, for the foam that you're using, probably a good old white glue will be almost as good as anything. Liquid nails for projects is another solid go-to.
I think I've got some tacky glue over here.
Oval's going to be a little more challenging, but we'll make it work.
Ryan, someone in the chat asks, how long have you been building models?
Well, I have been building models for as long as I can remember, which, given my memory, might only be 3 or 4 weeks, but I swear it's a lot longer than that. Since I was a kid, and I'm a big kid now, so I would say I've got over 40 years experience at this point, comfortably. And I've worked in everything from garden railway size down to Z in models, and enjoyed all of it. Every scale has something to say for it, and its own advantages. Find the right color here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, and this is a little tip when you're making signs, whether it's for the side of your building or an old weathered sign like these, or almost anything that you do, you don't typically think about the edge of the paper because it's so tiny. But nothing gives away the look of a paper sign faster than seeing that little bit of white once you get it on the model. And so I'm going to use one of my favorite handy tools here, a toothpick, and a little bit of burnt umber paint, which is probably the same color I used for the rust. And I'm just going to go along along the edge of the sign, angling it a little bit towards the back so that if I do get a little extra on there, it goes to the back of the sign and doesn't mar the front anymore. Although, again, since I was making these a rusty sign in the first place, it wouldn't be the end of the world if I got a little more rust on the front. But this is a quick step that helps hide that paper edge, and will make a big difference when you put it on the model. If you're doing a rooftop sign or a storefront sign, if you're not rusting it, you could use a gray or a brown. Black always just sort of hides everything. Or you can do it the color of the sign itself. Megan, you probably don't have that problem on the vinyl letters that you cut out.
I do not.
So another advantage to the Cricut.
Now the Cricut does also do like cardstock, which is something I will definitely think about using for my next build.
One of the most fun things about this hobby is no matter how long you've been doing it, you always learn something new, and you can always be inspired to try new things. You never really master all of it. So that's encouraging.
So Ryan, while we're talking here, I do want to tease a little bit. If you're a fan of Workbench Wednesday and a fan of doing some modeling and want to come and hang out with Ryan and myself, stay tuned for some announcements on our social media in regards to an event here at our Concord Mill store.
That's right. That'll be coming up. It's actually not that far out, but that'll probably be our grand finale, season finale for Workbench Wednesday this season as we get into the warmer summer months for sure. So definitely would look forward to making those announcements. You've been working really hard on that. It's going to be a fun program and give people, if you're local, an opportunity to come out and do things. And of course, we'll stream from here as well. So if you want to follow along digitally, you can do that.
Yeah, stay tuned. Facebook, Instagram, all of those. We'll get you details out here shortly on what we've got up our sleeves.
Okay. So now I'm just going to glue these onto the front of the fence. I use a little bit of white glue. Smooth that out.
Yeah, the cement or the plastic glue ate my foam surfboard, so
oh yes, plastic glue will definitely eat the foam. I should have warned you about that.
That's okay. I'm getting to become pro at foam surfboards, so.
Hard to believe we've been at this for almost an hour already, Megan.
Yeah. I was prepping for this earlier and looked down at the time and said, oh my goodness, I need to go cook dinner.
Okay.
You really do get lost in it, that's for sure. Not a bad thing, very calming, and I've enjoyed doing it.
Mm-hmm. So here's the fence for the back of the lot. Just need to add a few posts to anchor it in. And again, I'm just going to use some strip wood for that. It's probably a little heavy for a fence post. And thinner. That'll be better. Well, I definitely can tell you I'm not going to get to stringing little triangles tonight.
Oh, man.
But that's okay. That will give me something to look forward to later on. I think what I will do, Megan, let's finish up what we're working on at the moment, and then we'll wrap this one up for the night and try and get these finished in the next couple of days and get people some pictures online so they can see
Absolutely.
the progress. As Megan mentioned, we'll have a live event coming up in just about about another 8 weeks or so, Megan. 7 weeks. I have a few more Workbench Wednesdays in between now and then. I know Dave is going to be working on some more demos with Dave. We've been getting some new EP samples, engineering prototype samples into the office, so there'll be plenty of good stuff to talk about. There's a lot going on back at the office right now. If anybody is in the Pittsburgh area this weekend, I will be speaking at an NMRA division meet out there on Saturday. Very much looking forward to that. Thank that group for inviting me to come speak and join. And then we'll be back at the office and back to the chaos.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed seeing everyone's comments and encouragement as I worked on this. Again, looking forward to seeing some of our fans live and in person. By our fans, I mean your fans.
No, they're definitely here for you.
Yeah, we'll get pictures up online on our social media here soon with both of our models.
Absolutely. And please, again, share yours as well. We love seeing what everybody's up to. We know it's getting about that point in the year where you start to do summer things, but it's just sometimes it's nice to come inside when it's too hot out and model too. It doesn't just have to be when it's cold.
Yeah, my favorite thing about summer is air conditioning.
All right. What I used to make here. Okay. I need to just find some more strip wood and finish this up. How are your surfboards coming, Megan?
They are coming along very well. Again, some of them have disintegrated, but I will replace those. I'm going to let some of these dry and then affix them both to the exterior of the building and some in the interior as well.
Excellent. Should be good to go.
So you're adding what, like a bracket there?
I am adding fence posts. And as you probably can tell, I am not adding them very evenly. But that's okay, because I'm pretty sure when they built this, they were not measuring everything out either. Sometimes a little bit of that variety is actually helps make a model stand out. This will then sit. I bring the model back in. I'll be putting this right along the back of our parking lot. And those posts that I just installed actually sit down in what's left of these little bits of foam to help hold it. So I'm just going to stick it here temporarily. It hasn't placed that yet. But that will sit there about like that. Hold that a little bit. That up. There's some more junk in front of it. We'll be putting a pole here in the back, somewhere about like this, about like that. Another light post up in the front lot. Let's see if this all backs out so you can actually see it. So we'll have a pole here. These are not weathered yet. Just for now, a couple of staged cars, probably not the cars I would use either, but we'll have some cars in the lot with some signs and flowers and whatever else on them to flowers. You know, I'm talking about streamers to get things there. Turn this back down. Take my hand away. There we go. And we'll be finishing off this scene. I've probably got a few more hours to go on here yet, but when it's all said and done, it should be a pretty good looking scene. We'll put some more junk over here too behind the fence, because I would imagine a lot of stuff would get tossed back there. So plenty of tires and other great castings that I've got lying around. Sometimes if I have a night and I don't really feel like working on a whole model, I'll just get a little casting or two out and start painting a little bit here and there. And then when you're ready for them, they're ready, and you don't lose all your progress painting castings. So this will take a little bit longer yet. There's a lot more science to do, a lot more little details, but it's coming together, and I think it'll be a good one for the shelf until the layout's ready to have it go on there.
Very cool.
And Megan, how about another look at yours before we sign off for the night?
All right, here. Added those surfboard details here.
Very nice. The surfboards are turning out really well.
Yeah, I want to keep playing with them because I'm picky about it, but I'm learning quite a few things as I.
And the signs at the top really do make it. I think that's there's something to be said for that. That looks really good. Awesome. The little details make a difference. No matter what it is, if it's surfboards or figures or old car tires, whatever the scene is, those little details are what help bring it to life and make it fit the place.
Absolutely.
So wonderful job. I look forward to seeing the final product here back at the office next week, Megan. Again, to everyone else, thank you for tuning in and watching us learn and build over the last couple of weeks. I know we've inspired each other. I hope we've also given you a little bit of inspiration, and you've had a chance to right into the light. You've had a chance to see what we do and get a chance to enjoy and learn. I hope we've inspired you. Hope you start. If you haven't built a kit before, give it a try. Megan can now give you firsthand experience that it's not as hard as it seems, and you can get great results right out the gate. So just use your imagination and have fun. And Megan, I will give you the final word.
Again, thank you everyone for tuning in and building along with us. I enjoyed seeing all your comments as we built through here, so I appreciate it.
Megan, I lost your sound.
Can you hear me now?
Maybe I lost my sound. That's right. I probably muted my phone finally. Well, we'll let that go. Hopefully everyone else out there was able to hear Megan's final thoughts, and we'll see you all in a couple of weeks for the next Workbench Wednesday. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day, great week, and keep enjoying those trains.
Thanks, everyone.